Well, it is 100 weeks in a row that I've come to you right now at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about expiring domain names. Madness. 100 weeks in a row. I don't even I don't even know if there's anything else I've ever done consistently enough to be able to meet this milestone. So just a moment of being a little proud of myself. And that maybe just a little bit overwhelmed by how much I've bit off to chew for this episode, because I got some major stuff coming to you, whether you're domain to profit every single week, part of the great community that we have that comes together to talk about domain names. Well, if that's you, that is terrific. We have something for you. But also, if you're just joining me in domain to profit for the first time ever, you picked one heck of a week to do it, because today we are going to be using over $1 million. Like, I've spent over $1 million on domain names. I'm going to be using some of my top domain names, nearly $1 million worth, as examples of what kind of domain names I'm looking to buy. And then I've allocated over $100,000 worth of money to buy domain names just like this. So, hey, if you've been saving up those domain names for a payday, it may be coming. So it's worth watching. I know that. So, well, that's what's happening today. And I am all kinds of discombobulated because, well, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. How does that sound like a big deal to you? Because it does to me. So make sure you're saying hi in the chat. Watching Domain to Profit is meant to be a live activity. We will be looking through expiring domain names as well, reviewing past purchases over the last few weeks, as well as evaluating these domain names. So lots to do today, all packed in an hour. Make sure you say hi in the chat. Let people know you're here. It's Domain to Profit. I'm Drew Wash. See you on the other side.
From domain to profit, from a dot-com to a business idea. Take a domain name, develop an income from domain to profit. We'll show you how. Domain to profit. Join Drew Wash and get started right now.
All righty, I'm working a multiple laptop day today. So I see lots of people coming in. Fred, nice to see you. Yes, big. I'm excited about the 100th. Thanks for being here for many of those, Fred. Same with you, Matt. I appreciate you. Matt's always great at reminding me of this here, which is make sure you like and subscribe to this video. It helps me out, and I just greatly appreciate it. It validates and all those human needs that we have to be, put work that is beneficial into the world. Stuart, nice to see you, and thank you so much as well. Jacob, nice to see you back as well. Always nice to see you just running through. Kevin, yeah, the 500, I'm celebrating 250. In fact, here's the secret. In 4 weeks, I plan on celebrating 2 years. That's the funny thing that happens with weekly stuff. In 4 more weeks, I get to celebrate 2 years of streaming. But yeah, 500th. We'll see. I can't make any promises for that. Jeffrey, nice to see you here. Nice to have you. Very much appreciate you joining us. And Dominic as well. Thank you for joining me. I know you make it every once in a while, so it's nice to have you here, Dominic. So, and Lee, yeah, domain. One of the most common. The only one I've not seen yet is Michael. We got quite the crew that joins each week, and I appreciate all of you. We'll probably have quite a few more people joining us this week. Well, because we have some big stuff going on. I don't talk about money very often. I do this, yes, domain to profit. You hear profit and you think, oh, this is a money thing. But wealth is about so much more than money. It's easy to tweet about money. And I see so many people doing it. They just put that, they dangle that carrot out there for everybody to be like, hey, you can make money. Here's the way to make it. And what I've learned over many, many years of pursuing money is it's not about the money. The money is necessary to kind of ascend the pyramid, our hierarchy of needs. But once you get to a certain level, which is a lot lower than what a lot of people think, there's so much more that you need to be working towards your freedom, towards your artistic and creative. All these different things come up, and I don't use money very often, but today we are talking money. In fact, well, $1 million worth of domain names I've purchased over the last decade or so. We're going to use those I'll show you how to evaluate them, how those domain names, how we came up with the prices for those. Sometimes it's pretty obvious how we came up with it. Other times it's kind of like, what the heck was he thinking? What the heck was I thinking? It happens. Then we will also be looking through expiring domain names. Some of that 100,000 may go towards great expiring domain names, although a quick look over the list, I'm not all that impressed. So it's going to be up to you to pull that money out of my pocket with your portfolio. Although, honestly, I hope you don't sell. I hope you value the great domain names that you have so much that you want to develop them. So that is what we do. So here's the list. This is expireddomains.net. This is where we will be spending our time here shortly. Once we kind of get to that stage of the show, I'm refreshing it just to make sure we have it up to date. It is the filters that you'll see right down over here. That's a video that will show you the filters that we use each week to produce this list, expireddomains.net. You'll see up in the URL up there. That's a free site. You can use it. Go set up an account and set up some filters and follow along exactly with the opportunities that are available this week. Again, though, just like last week, you'll see a lot of these enom domains up here. And those are domain names that in most cases get pulled. And just like last week, we talked about it. We talked about all those great domain names that were coming up for expired auctions. And guess what happened? Exactly like I expected, they all got pulled. So none of them actually went to a completed auction. So there you go. I'm so good at predictions. Okay, so my prediction as of this point is we're going to go over to this other screen, if I can figure all this out. Here is the chart that I'm going to be using. We're going to be using these domains over here. It's not pretty, people. It's not pretty. But we're going to be using some of these domain names here. These are the domain names I've purchased over the last decade or so. You can see everything from Moving Company, which is the most expensive single domain name I've purchased, over $200,000, or actually just shy of $200,000. Then we will be looking at duck cleaners, photo booths, bartenders, towing.com, truck repair, dog groomer, and doggroomers.com, which together 131,000. discjockey.com, djs.com, detailer. All of these seem to have a theme. There seems to be a theme. Do you see a theme? I see a theme in that. Come on, put me back up there. This is going to be a nightmare of a too many buttons to push. Okay, so we have a lot to cover as we go through and evaluate those domain names using the different tools and things that we've looked at over the last 100 episodes. So, okay. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to pull up, which if you're not familiar with SpyFu, Spy, F-U, SpyFu, if you've not used it a lot, but if you're like many of us, you use it a lot, and that means that, you may have to pay for it, which we do have a paid account for it. So what we're going to do here, let me try to figure out how to switch between these screens to where it doesn't cause me to waste 5 minutes every single time. How about this? Does this work? Maybe. Okay. We'll try this out. So what we're going to do is we're going to be using the domain names that we have on the list here. And we are going to be plotting these and running these through the exact same things that we do every single week as we look through expiring domain names. And then we're going to kind of see, like, was it a good buy? Was it a bad buy? And if you had a domain name just like this, as you go through your portfolio, would it be a domain name that Drew would pay $10,000 for, $20,000 for, less, more? How can you know? How can you know whether this guy here would buy your domain name? I am, I believe, considered a premium buyer. I pay good money for good domain names. So let's see. Let's see what kind of domain name. So I'm following along. Here is the 2x2 grid that we use. We've never had it in this kind of clear of a format, but we have talked about 2x2 decision making. So one of the things that we're going to look at, we're going to be looking at the exact same thing that we talk about every single week: the cost per click amount, the number of keyword searches that show up on SpyFu, and then we are going to be plotting the domain names on here. And if you plot your domain name by following along with your exact same domain, the domain name you think I'd be most interested in, you may find, hey, this is one I need to offer up to Drew. And I'll show you how to do that. It's going to be over on the community website, which, if you know what that is, then that is great. Okay. Do we make sense? Does this make sense so far? See a lot of heads nodding. That's good. That's good. Okay. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to, I'm going to use these little Post-it notes here. This is a product called Miro. We're going to start with ductcleaners.com. This is a domain name I bought from Peter Askew. And what we are going to do is just plot this domain name on the different graphs here. So let me switch over to the screens. Let's see if we can get them to show up. No, we cannot. So I'm going to go into this view here. Boom. Doing so many things. So one of the primary ways that we evaluate domain names is not based on your gut feeling. Your gut feeling may be beneficial, but one of the things you'll see if you've watched any of the 100 episodes that we've put together here is even my gut feeling is wrong. Almost every single week, my gut feeling about a domain name is wrong. It's proven wrong by the data. So if you're evaluating your portfolio or evaluating your domain names, you can use your gut to get you to a certain level, but you need to have data to back you up eventually. And here's where we're going to go. We're going to type duct cleaners into SpyFu, and we want to do it exactly at the domain name we're evaluating is ductcleaners.com. So we just drop the .com, which, yes, always .com. Those are the only ones I'm interested in. Only .com. I don't buy anything other than that unless I'm just in a crazy mood and you're selling it for super cheap. So ductcleaners.com, we're going to pull up the data here. Okay, here we go. And thank you, Matt, for sharing out the community website. Posting more instructions, get that from community.dt.tv. That's where you will be able to submit your domain names at the end of the show. But first, let's make sure they make sense. So ductcleaners.com, I spent a few $1,000s on. I think it was around $5,000. I'll have to look that up. It was on the original screen. I don't have it printed out in front of me. So the exact match domains, we have, I'm going to go back to a split view. This is going to be bulky and difficult to do, but here we go. I'll do this. I'll share it after the, dang it. What do I want to do? Make up your mind. Okay. Try this. I'm going to go solo on this screen. No, solo on this one. So as you can see, I got the Post-it note for ductcleaners.com. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to evaluate duct cleaners by, based on this, there's only 180 exact match searches. So let me go down to the correct graph, actually. The first thing we're doing is evaluating exact match keywords of this domain name. I am an exact match buyer. It's important to me to exact match. So how do you know whether a domain name is worth a darn? Well, you can really only know if you have data. Other than that, it's always your gut feel. It's whatever you can sell it at or find a buyer to pay for. But if you have data, then you can go with that actual data. So duct cleaners, 180 exact matches, which is pretty low. So let me grab that tab. I'm on the wrong screen. This is a disaster. Okay. So really, for the most part, 100 I would consider low, maybe kind of low to middle. So right now, if we were to plot the exact duct cleaners, the exact keyword, how many times it shows up, it's quite low. So that's going to be in the avoid currently. But there's a second graph here, and that is similar. So, I could have practiced, and that might have been helpful. But so now we're back over to the screen. So here's what I'm talking about, the 180 monthly volume. So right from SpyFu. But there's a trick that I show you each week that you maybe haven't realized how important it is, and that is pulling the other keywords. So what I did was a Control F. I did a Control F in my browser, which pulls up the search on the page. Then again, I typed in ductcleaners.com, and then what that shows you is it highlights the domain name, that keyword in other keywords that appear on the screen here. So you'll see duct cleaners near me, 1,300 searches. So that's much better than 180. And that's nice because near me means it's localization. So that's just like a bonus check. Localization near me is good. Duct cleaner supply. Let's say I wanted to sell supplies for the website. Boom, I can do that now. 570 searches happening to there. Air duct cleaners. Do you think ductcleaners.com would be a good place to target air duct cleaners as a keyword? Absolutely. Add in another 440 searches. So for the most part, this is a pretty reasonable domain name when it comes to the keywords that I could target. So how does this work? Let's say you had this domain name that was ductcleanersnearme.com. First of all, that's too many words. I stop at 3. But wouldn't you always, if you own ductcleanersnearme.com, wouldn't you always like to own duct cleaners? Like, wouldn't that, if you have duct cleaners near me, all you can do is show local towing company or local duct cleaners, really. But if you own duct cleaners, then you can show local towing companies and maybe products and other services related to it. So you're always kind of looking for the best possible exact match domain name. And that's what we're doing with this one here. So ductcleaners.com, I'm going to pull back up the Miro board that I have. The exact match is low, but the similar keywords brings this one, kind of that middle of the road to the maybe type domain name. So then if we were to evaluate this exact same domain name on the, let me duplicate this tag. If we were to do the same thing, so the next factor that we're looking at is we scroll down on, the this list here. We look and we want to see advertisers. So those are 5. And then cost per click, woo, $9.56. That's some big numbers. So now we just go back over to our board. So here's one of the ways to think of this. Number of ads, 10, high is 10. So we're at 5, so we're middle of the road. And then cost per click, $2 is middle of the road, but this one's at 9. So we're like right up in here for duct cleaners when it comes to money. So now we've evaluated the keywords of the domain name, we evaluated the money and the advertiser's domain name, and this one's kind of that middle of the road buy. So now it's going to come down to, was this domain name, like, what's the price? How much is this domain name selling for? Based on what we just saw, would you sell the domain name or would you buy the domain name for $10,000? That's tough. It's tough. Well, I bought the domain name for $6,000, which it was from Peter Eskew, a buddy of mine. I think it was a pretty good value, and both sides were happy with it. So there you go, duckcleaners.com. And you can see if you follow along with those two 2x2 grids and just walk through those few steps, how that came about. Would it have went for more? Would it have went for less? Kind of tough to say. Tough to say. But you can see how we ended up with it being a domain name worth at least negotiating over, right? Maybe. So if we're going to go, so there's Duck Cleaners. Not sure why I started with that one, but it's a start. It's a start. Let me make sure I got everything showing correctly. Oh yeah, so that was duckcleaners.com. That's how we ended up with the $6,000 range for that one. So maybe you have a 2-word keyword domain name with similar statistics. Hey, send that over to that community link that Matt shared here. Over here, you'll see an option to register, and then you can go and, in fact, let me do one better. I'll just go to the actual site. Community.dtp.com.tv. It's one of my few .tv or, well, non.com domains for shortening purposes only. So once this shows up, you guys are just blitzing it, so it's all making it slow down. I'm on. Okay, so you'll see here, Buying Spree is where we are looking to go. So once you register, you'll be able to go to Buying Spree here and submit your domain names. And if you have one, similar numbers, expect an offer for sure. Back to, in fact, actually, here's what we're going to do. Let's a few page downs of expireddomains.net, because there might be some opportunities here this week that are not available other weeks. So what we did was range filters here. These filters are what generate this list on expireddomains.net. And then we just kind of dive into the domain names. So base phone, brand partner, Medicare's sounds like garbage. Real estate store, Superior Solutions. If we get lucky, we can find one that will fit right with this bottle. Well, if I get lucky, I'll find one that fits in with the business model. I just want to, and we order it by the GoDaddy valuation. And as I say each week, you can kind of see that over here on the far side of the screen. That valuation is not the actual price of that domain name. It's just some random number. It's not random. It's based on data, but it's not actually the value of the domain name. It's just something that's helpful to order the domain by. If you think of it from that perspective, it's helpful to order your list by that. It will save you so many headaches. Pretty frequently, I hear from people that are like, oh, will you pay me the GoDaddy appraisal? No, I won't pay you the GoDaddy appraisal. Like nearly never. I will never, I might pay you more than it if it's a good enough domain, because when I want to buy a domain name, I typically value it higher than GoDaddy. But realistically, most of these domain names are not worth it. SafetyRailing.com. Well, one of the things I will tell you as I look at SafetyRailing.com is I am looking for services only. Services only. I'm going to buy service domain names. SafetyRailing.com, as you can probably tell, is a product type domain name. Safety railing, I imagine it is. So my gut tells me we're going to see exact match keyword of about 300 keywords. You see what I just did there? Took the exact domain name, dropped off the .com, copied and pasted keywords in here. I estimated what did I say, 300? It's 270. My gut actually is right, but it's not common. Down here, actually, this is a pretty good domain name so far. 13 advertisers. So if you think of that 2x2 grid that we had, is high on the number of advertisers per click. So it's going to be just above, it's going to be in that high side as far as money. However, I don't really look for product domain names. So we will do the Control F, and then we will split it up into domain name or into keywords again, if I can type. So here you actually see the opposite of what we saw for for duct cleaners. With duct cleaners, we saw, boom, it lit up all over the place. Our keyword was used in numerous other searches. And this is, in this case, you see none. So this 270, even this 145 estimated clicks over here, that's really all you're targeting with this. You do see over behind my head here, there's a question, what is the code for safety railings for bunk beds? Like that's, realistically, that's, you could put that, you can answer that question on your domain name. That would help you generate relevant content for your keyword. But really, for the most part, like many product domains, how would I monetize it? I would put up some content about safety railings, probably some products where you can buy them. I would try to localize the domain name so you can find safety railings near you, maybe some handymen that specialize in installing and working on safety railings. Really, for the most part, the money's high, but if we were to look at the keywords of it, those are pretty low. And for that reason, this domain name doesn't make my list, but it may make yours. It's certainly worth a few $100s, if not 1,000 or so. Let's see here. Currently, 1 day left, safetyrailing.com, $355 over on GoDaddy auctions. So that's pretty much how it works. Who's selling that domain name? Nobody. It's an expired domain name. GoDaddy is the one that makes the money. The domain name is just expiring. So anyone can win that auction. And if it actually goes all the way through the redemption period, you get it, drops in your portfolio, and now you can do something with it. Many buy it to sell it for a higher price. I do this show in hopes that you will instead develop it. That's how you can make the money, doing the hard work. Let's get one more domain name here off the list, and then we will go back and do another example. Testing score, interesting domain name. Classic Tractor. You think my classic tractor sexy.com? If this is your first time watching, get ready for the corniness because it comes out. Conversible surge up. Diabetes tips. If you're looking to blog, interested in diabetes, know a lot about it or something, diabetes tips could be an interesting domain name for you. That would be a content type domain. Vacuum machines. Okay. Sometimes if I'm testing, my gut says it's garbage, but you could type it in, see if it's worth something. Download tool, my guess is it has some keyword volume, but as you can see over here, there's no cost per click on it, which is what this column here is. Not always helpful, but it does give you some quick data. One more page down, and then we're going to go back to the list. So if you're in chat and you see you saw the list of domain names, if you want me to run through one of those domains on that list, let me know which one you want to do next. Or I'm open to doing one of your domain names if you want to put it in chat. You do have to put a pound hashtag symbol in front of it. Otherwise, the filter will block you from posting a domain name, keep it from being spammed. But now I just gave you the secret, so don't spam it. You'll get your butt blocked. Okay. Well, there we go. So that was some of the expiring domain names. Actually, let's go back. I just saw this one here. Green screen. I'm not sure. I'm in front of a green screen. I don't do it very well. That's why it doesn't look perfect or anything, but let's see. My gut says it's probably not really a thing, but here's a couple things I will share with you. I love ing at the end of a domain name. Ing is, otherwise you get into the whole idea of singular versus plural. So there's that. Let's see if there's any keyword volume. Is it a thing? I don't know if it's a thing. Is it a thing? 135 searches for the exact days. Really picking up much here. So what do I mean by not really picking up much here? Here's what we're doing. I am going, and I just did the Control F on the domain name. And for some reason, I must have hit enter, which brought it all the way down to the bottom. So again, what I would expect is what I see here, green screen, major keyword. I don't know if green screening would pick up if you can count on targeting these keywords here. Green screening is an action type word. Let's see what the money is for this one. 3 advertisers, pretty low, less than $2. So as I kind of expected with this one, it's an interesting domain name, possibly worth an investment, a few $100 or so. $12 currently, meaning do not bid on this domain name until the last 5 minutes and 10 seconds left. Don't show your hand. That's one of the secrets or one of the tips I always give. Otherwise, all you are doing is putting chum in the water and you're just calling all the sharks, all the domain investors. Wait until the last possible minute, which is 5 minutes, 10 seconds left for that. So here I'm going to go back over to the messy task of grabbing, and let me hide Matt's message. Hopefully you know the community piece now. So we're back to the 2x2, and here are the domain names that we have available that we're going to look at. So we've looked at duckcleaners.com. We can look at photo booths. We can look at towing.com, which is, of course, the domain name I've developed to make lots and lots of money with. And says I'm having some connection issues. Hopefully that's not affecting much of anything. Okay, I'm looking to see if anybody mentioned a specific keyword. I have not seen it, so here's what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and let's grab movingcompany.com. I'm going to grab movingcompany.com. It's my most expensive domain name, and it is also the most expensive mistake I've ever made. Let's see if that mistake shows in the data. So I am going to trying to decide which the best way to do this. Okay. We'll go here, back to screens. I will go and do SpyFu. It's not the most beautiful of processes, but I think it works. Moving company. So many years ago, after towing.com was becoming a success, I felt I had the golden touch of domain names. And I thought that everything I touched would turn to gold. And to my wife's better wishes, I purchased movingcompany.com for nearly $200,000. And one of the biggest I told you so marriage, essentially, it was a big mistake name, had search engine optimization issues. It had a middle action against it, and all kinds of other things. Let's look at the data. Let's look at the data and see if the domain name is worth it. So what I've already done here is I typed it into spyfu.com as a keyword, moving company. And then what I did was I did a Control F to pull up and highlight the keywords that we have. So you'll see 18,000 searches for movingcompany.com, which is pretty high. That you would expect a high number from a domain name like this. Then over here, we see some highlighted. We see localization, moving company near me. That looks pretty good too, right? So now we got some good keyword volume going. Moving company exact, pianomovingcompany.com, another 4,000. What's the best moving company for long distance? We have some, what I use these questions for, these questions that are just behind my head here. You may not know anything about moving. I don't know anything about moving. I don't know anything about duct cleaners. I don't really know anything about towing other than what I've learned over the last 15 years. So how do you know what content to put on your domain name if you're going to develop it? Well, these questions over here are a great start. So when you see your domain showing up, if people are asking, what is the best moving company for long distance? they're asking that 500 times a month. If you answer it on movingcompany.com, it's going to give you an opportunity to pick up some keywords and people finding your domain name. And if nothing else, when they type in your domain name, they're finding a question that you know they're asking pretty frequently. So you're helping your visitors out. And that's really what it's all about. So keyword wise, I'm not going to use the 2x2 to keep me from having to switch around, but keyword, we see pretty good exact match keywords, and then the similars take it up, and this domain name is a winner when it comes to keywords. Keyword volume, though, I would probably say the domain name's more in the range of a $50,000 domain name. Now let's go down and look at the pricing and the money. So down here, you'll see there's over 10 advertisers. Oh, okay, we're over 10. That's one of the key marks. We want to see that. And then, is it over $2 per click? Yep, it's over 10. Moving is one of the industries that I had a little bit of a background in. I knew this was a great domain name. That's why I overpaid for it. As far as the keyword, it's a winner. Those two numbers mixed with the keyword data that we saw above, I would probably pay $50,000 for this domain name over and over and over again. Going up above that, that was the price of my ego. I know market-wise, it's probably more of a $100,000, $120,000 domain name. So there you go. So still a very good domain name, but not setting any records. So if you were following along, how would you put those on those 2x2s? Exact match, it's pretty high. And then similar keywords, also pretty high. So we're in that top box that, hey, this is an interesting domain name. Then we look at the money of it, cost per click, very high. And then the over advertisers, well over 10 advertisers. So again, this would be a domain name that would certainly get a high 5-figure domain offer from me. So there you go. There's movingcompany.com. An evaluation of that one. And yes, this is my wife here laughing at me because she's the one that says, I told you so. She doesn't beat me up on it anymore. I think I've had enough success with domains that she cuts me some slack. So yeah, there you go. Hey, I'll tell you what. Yeah, Fred, I've had her join me one time here. I should have had her. I need to have her on here more frequently. But yeah, she's a baller, man. She can domain with probably some of the best people out there, in my opinion. She's pretty quality at it. Okay, let me go to the next domain name. So we did movingcompany.com. We did duckcleaners.com. Any preference on what's next? Do we want to go? Anybody have a domain name they want me to do? Well, the most recent domain name I did from Elliot, I bought doggroomers.com. And then I bought whatever the other one is. So let me back up, take a breath. One of the reasons I love ing domain names is ing doesn't share value between singular and plural. When you see keywords like we did with Moving Company here, you'll see that Moving Companies gets a lot of keyword volume also. And these keywords, Moving Company and Moving Companies, share the value between these keywords. Like neither one really owns the other one. Like, for example, who wants to type Moving Companies? So Moving Company is pretty darn good, but you can't count on all of the value being owned by one. They split it. So if you look, Moving Company has great data. It's a couple $100,000 domain name, but some of that value gets siphoned off by Moving Company. So moving companying isn't a thing. But when you get to singular and plural domain names, for example, I own duckcleaners.com, got that for $6,000. I do not own duckcleaner.com. So I lose some of the value of my domain name to the singular version of the domain name. For what I do, I prefer plural over singular. But what I've done with dog groomers, is I went out and I bought the both singular and the plural. So for total of 130. I have both the singular and the plural of dog groomer, doggroomers.com. So now when we come in here and we look at this data, we can look and include anything that is a plural version. And once this shows up here, got a little bit of lag happening. Apologies if it's in the stream. So now you'll see if we own Dog Groomer, Dog Groomers, which we do, we spent $131,000 for both of those domain names combined. And now look at this. Woo! Woo! Look at the rolling. Like every single one of the keywords includes our domain. Like I love it. I love it so much. Okay. So here we go. We have 7,800 exact match keywords for dog groomer. That's pretty good, right? That's anytime you get the 4 digits, that's looking pretty good. I've bought many of domain names that are single or 150, 120 searches. So the exact match is pretty high. I would put that in the high category. And then when you look at similar keywords, dog groomers near me, 167,000. Dog groomer near me, 117,000. Those are big numbers. You don't see those very often. You only see those with kind of the most premium of domain names, which is why these are 6-figure for the combination of them. And look at all these. Everybody's asking questions about topics. So now we have lots of great content. All this content that we can put on our domain names. I know nothing about dog grooming, but if I can put these questions on the website and allow dog groomers to answer it, voila, we have great content for the site that allows me to get more traffic and help my users more. Focus on the user. Don't just always focus on money. It's kind of that what we talked about early on. What's the best domain name out there? It's not one that makes big money when it sells. It's a developed domain name. Bring value to the world with your domain name. So we have low advertisers, so it's less than 10, and then less than $2 per click. Now, the only thing is if we look at all these other keywords that we can target, let's look at, let's just click on dog groomers near me, for example. Let's see what happens. They back it up. Although most dog groomers, they barely even want new customers. They fill up their, but here we go. You'll see here, there's a lot of money around dog groomers, sometimes around. This is an exact match for our domain name plus near me. So it's localization over $2, well over 10 advertisers. Big numbers, big numbers. So we are easily in that 2x2 grid. Everything is high. High exact match search, high similar searches that have our keyword in it, high number of advertisers, high number of dollars per click, cost per click. We're over $2. We're over 10 advertisers. All of that's like green light, green light. So now it's just a matter of what's the value? What is it compared to other domain names that you can get it at? In this case, I remember feeling I overpaid. I got a little carried away when I bought it, but you can see the numbers. It's worth it. It's going to be worth it as it's developed out. So there you go. There's doggroomers.com. Checking out chat, making sure that grabbing hopefully the questions or things. Let me bring up Lee's chat here. Once believe we did certain home barbers. Yes. In fact, I think don't you own? One of us owns a singular, one of us owns a plural. I'll redirect it. You develop it. I mention it to my barber every time I go. I'm like, hey, I own home barbers, something like that. Okay, yeah, and the ing like towing. Towing is the best single domain name in all of towing. Like I owned before I owned towing. I owned towing. I'm sorry, I owned Towing Company and towingcompanies.com. I owned them both, but they both have towing in it. Like I needed the ing. Ing, it doesn't always apply, but when it does, I want it. I want it, the ing. Bill, it could be going in and out. I see some. I'm trying to do 1,000 different things on a bunch of different screens, so it may be causing some problems. Yeah. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm not going to share out the 2x2 anymore. I think that may be what's causing some of the lag, is me trying to do too many things all at once. And I apologize for that. Hopefully it didn't ruin it too terribly much. Okay. So we've looked at duckcleaners.com, movingcompany.com, doggroomers.com. Let's go back to some expiring domain names. So one of the reasons we're looking at some of my past purchases, I've spent well over $1 million on domain names, and I've learned a lot of lessons as to what kind of domain names I'm good at developing out. So that's what I'm showing you is the domain names: duckcleaners.com, photobooths.com, bartenders.com, towing.com, truckrepair.com, detailer.com, djs.com, discjockey.com, doggroomers.com. All of these exact match keywords. They match the keywords that people type into Google. Many domainers kind of consider those a little bit boring, but many domainers aren't developers. They're not looking to develop domain names, and I am. I'm a developer. That's what Domain to Profit is about, is turning a domain name into not just one-time profit by selling it, but instead reoccurring every single month, money into your bank account development. That's the kind of profit we're looking for here on Domain to Profit. So, but I've used that experience to formulate and figure out what domain names I can develop somewhat easily. And those are the domain names that we are going to be purchasing. We've allocated over $100,000 in domain names, over $100,000 in liquid cash, ready to purchase domain names that score pretty high on these scores that we've been talking about. Exact match keywords, similar keywords, high cost per click, over $2 per click, and over 10 advertisers, some combination of those various things, all.com, ideally local services, but services for sure, no products. So there you go. So now we're back to, radio repair. Man, if the year was, can you see that up on the top? If the year was 1992 or something, I have to think that would be awesome. I'm going to skip that one, especially because it's an enom domain. Basically, I just point out the enom part because a lot of times they get renewed and never actually go through. So you can bid as if it's going to come up, but another good blog domain here. Travel Tidbits. Sounds like a fun domain name. It would be a fun domain name just for the sake of blogging your travel stuff, which of course blogs can turn into money. Do it only if you're passionate about it. Don't create small rant. Don't create a content website unless you're passionate about the topic. Don't do those garbage articles and all those search engine optimization things to game Google. It's annoying as crap. I mean, do what you want. I mean, if you want to make money, you can make money that way. But I don't want to spend money. I don't want to spend my time and my life force on just making money, especially if it's on a topic I have no interest in. So there you go. Are you advertising, sweetie? Are you advertising? Because she is a travel agent, but no, not really. And yes, Richard, you vary your username so much, but over on the community website, she is certainly known as L Couch. So, nope, definitely not advertising. I love it. Oh, there you go. Yeah, and Stuart, I get it. Many people do. I'm an SEO guy. That's my background. That's how I got into domain names. When I heard that people were starting to write articles using AI and basically the content didn't matter. I was like, oh my dear goodness, like this is out of control. Like you got to, I don't know. Anyhow, I'm just big on bringing value to the user. And so many content sites are just, they're for the click, they're for the money. And ultimately, long run, you're only about the money. You're making the world worse off, in my opinion. Like if it's all about the money and not bringing value, like if you're bringing value for the money, okay, there we go. I'll just shut up on that. But it's how I feel. Okay, so Reiki, I think that's a form of meditation massage thing. I know nothing about it, but I think this may be actually a good domain name. Let's find out. And maybe you didn't know it'd be a good domain name, so voila, this is why you watch the show. Drew gives away the domain names that are sometimes good domains. Or he proves that he doesn't know how to spell, and he finds out the domain names is just complete crap. Yep, that appears to be it. So this is either a misspelling. There's no money, no advertisers. Okay, I don't know anything, and we'll move on. I tried. Metric, drug rehab, alcohol, near miss. Sales Empire. Again, that sounds like a really good domain name for, it's a brandable. It's kind of that brandable sales empire. If you're doing a sales training, something like that, then for sure. Message Center up there. It's one of those weird European type spellings, but it's a good domain name. If it was spelled the way I would prefer it to be spelled, it'd probably be worth some money, worth developing for sure. Tracker Now, near miss. Organic Lovers, yeah, and there you go. Matt's asking if Stuart's passionate about the subject matter, and that matters a lot. I mean, I do this, but I make zero from this. In fact, I probably lose money every single week by telling you people like literally what I'm going to bid on. So I can't imagine this makes any money, but I love doing it. I'm already doing it, so why not do it with others that are interested in domain names as well? Okay. Plumbing reviews. Oh, look at the cost per click on it. This is where I give my weekly or every other week or monthly rant on the fact that review sites, I run one of my most successful websites is a review site. A quick way to get a lawyer because people don't like reviews. Companies hate reviews. But willing to go through the heck of being sued for stuff that you're not even doing. Hey, it could be a good domain name. Oh, actually, plumber is definitely the way. I thought maybe plumbing would be something worth a darn here, but it is not. Okay, so there we go. Moving on from that one as well. Let's see, was it? Oh, it's not even up for auction anymore. There we go. Yeah, and I will say, like Stuart and niche site, like I spent, I started to do that. That's how I got in SEO. I was building content sites, and that's how I stumbled across user-generated content because I didn't want to create the content. So I started to let the users submit content. That's how I ran into review websites and things. I very much, everything we do is for SEO. But since I'm not passionate about it, I don't hire Fiverr people to create the content because they're not passionate about it either. Instead, we let our users, the users being the small businesses and companies that would benefit from the domain name, we let them write the content, answer the questions. Works out pretty well. See, here we go. Business passion, people. We got to have some passion for what you're building. something like that. How the domain names, just tell the story for me. And I think with that said, I am going to go one more page down just to see if we have anything hiding, because it seems like success is always one more page down away. Empire Payments, Zen Advice. That's kind of a fun brand. Well, there we go. Go Mofo. GoMofo.com. I like that one. That one's fun. Okay. Well, hopefully did I hit on the key points? So let me kind of give you the summary rundown of what's going on with things. And let me put up at the same time the community website. There it is here. So here is the URL, community.dtp.tv. That is where you can go to submit domain names that you feel, those .com domain names. I am going to build out a list that if you kind of just read down the list, check your domain name against them, it will help you know. You'll know, like, I would love to build a tool that you like type in your domain name, and I'm really close to doing it. You type in your domain name and some data, and it will tell you like, yes, Drew will make you an offer of this range. I'm like, there you go. Like, how much is your domain name worth? Could be worth it. No. Drew will buy your domain name if it meets certain criteria. So we're getting there. We're getting there. But I have allocated over $100,000 to buy domain names. I'm hoping that I will be buying them over the next 4 weeks. So in 4 weeks, when we celebrate 2 years of Domain to Profit, I can share with you all the domain names we've purchased, meeting the criteria that we've talked about on the show today. The criteria that I have used to purchase well over $1 million of domain names over the past decade or so. I think decade. That's right. Actually, it hasn't even been a decade yet. I don't think. Most money I've spent has been the last 7 years, I think. But okay. Well, there we go. There we go. Some money to be made. If you're looking to sell domain name, Matt shared out sportsinformation.com. Yeah, SpyFu. If it sucks on SpyFu, not going to be working very well. And seeing lots of talk. I love it, guys. Richest Domains, Stuart, Niche Site Life, all of you, feel free to chat over on the community as well. Share your expertise with each other. We are all about here on Domain to Profit about turning domain names, that premium real estate of the internet, into stuff that actually helps the world, brings value to those people that are typing it in. Why do we do this? Well, I do it because I hate Google. I hate Google. I don't want the world to go to Google to find content. I want them to type in the domainname.com and get to something that makes their lives better. If we all do that, all of our domain portfolios are worth more and the world's a better place, and we make money. The trifecta. It's the pyramid of awesomeness. Something, I don't know. Trademark, TM. Okay. Well, I am Drew Wash. This is Domain to Profit. If you have not, make sure you check out the community.dtp. It's something we're putting together as we build out our community. All the great people that you see over in the chat, all the great people that join us each week here as we go through expiring domain names that will be available over the next week at auction, that you can buy, that digital real estate that you can build your future on, make your dreams come true through your own efforts, and making the world a better place. I'm Drew Wash's Domain to Profit. I will see you next week for the 101st edition of Domain to Profit. See you then.